This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
(8:45). This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by J. Yogaraj, read by Soundhi Thavam. The President appoints a 3-member commission to probe the recent unrest in Sri Lanka. The GC Ordinary Level Exam 2021 has concluded successfully. The Examinations Department Chief LMD Dharmasena says the answer script evaluations will be conducted in 2 stages. Import restrictions imposed on multiple items relaxed. Import levies on several items increased, prices to go up. The landslide warning issued for 8 districts has been extended. And the Labour Department's offices closed on Fridays. News overseas: Shanghai lockdown, China eases COVID restrictions after 2 months. And in sports, Sri Lanka call up Matisha Patirana, Nuanidu Fernando for T20I series against Australia. The President has appointed a 3-member presidential commission to inquire into the incidents of arson, looting, murders and injuries caused to individuals and damages to properties in parts of the country between March 31st and May 15th, 2022. The Commission of Inquiry is headed by Supreme Court Justice Buwaneka Alivihare and also includes former senior DIG SM Wickramasinghe and additional Chief Assessor NAS Vasantakumara. Meanwhile, the Additional Secretary to the President, Mr. Buwaneka Herath, has been appointed as the Secretary to the Commission. They had received their letters of appointment from President Gotabaya Rajapaksa at the President's house in Fort this evening. The government has relaxed the restrictions imposed on 369 items through a Gazette Extraordinary published on the 9th of March 2022. This was announced in a press release issued by the Ministry of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies today. The communiqué notes that the relevant items can now be imported without an import control licence effective from the 1st of June, subject to applicable rules and regulations, including duties and taxes. According to the ministry, after taking into account the recent developments in the country and the measures that have been taken, the following 2 actions were taken pursuant to the Imports and Exports Control Act No. 1 of 1969. The postponement of the effective date of the Imports Control Regulations on Payment Terms No. 7 of 2022 published on the 6th of May this year. Import Control Regulations on Payment Terms has been promulgated and published in the Gazette number 2281/22, dated May 31st, 2022, giving effect to the postponement of the effective date of the Imports Control Regulations No. 7 of 2022 from May 20th, 2022 to June 7th, 2022. Thereby, any cargo, consignments imported under the open account payment terms, documents against payments or documents against acceptance can be released from the Sri Lanka Customs as per the general practice applicable prior to May 7th, 2022 until June 6th, 2022. The Ministry of Finance has decided to lift the licensing system imposed for the importation of a large number of goods and items under 369 HS codes with effect from today, June 1st. The decision has been taken to significantly increase import duties, customs duties and surcharges levied on these goods. Accordingly, taxes will be increased on a number of imported food, including yogurt, cheese, grapes and apples. On the 9th of March 2022, a Gazette notification was issued under the Import and Export Control Regulations Act, making it mandatory to obtain import licenses for goods imported under 369 HS codes. The decision had been taken to discourage the importation of these goods in the face of the prevailing foreign exchange deficit. However, the Ministry of Finance today took steps to issue other regulations in this regard, as it appears that the goods continue to be imported through various informal channels. Accordingly, the Ministry of Finance said in a press release that goods imported under the 369 HS codes, which are mandatory to obtain import licenses, will be allowed to be imported without an import license with effect from today. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The landslide warning issued for 8 districts has been extended. The National Building Research Organisation announced it was extended until 3 p.m. tomorrow. 15,753 persons belonging to 3,583 families in 8 districts have been affected by the inclement weather as of 6 p.m. this evening. The Director General of the Centre, Sudhanta Ranasinghe, has said that a disaster relief official has died due to the prevailing weather conditions. 136 houses have been partly damaged. He said 232 persons belonging to 61 families have been housed at 5 safe centres. He further said that rescue operations are being conducted jointly with the 3 armed forces. Meanwhile, the Mahaweli authority said that the water levels of hydropower plant reservoirs are increasing with the activation of monsoon rain. The water capacity of the Moragakanda reservoir has increased by 71%. The water levels of Kotmale and the Victoria reservoirs have exceeded 50%. He said that the water capacity of the Randenigala reservoir is 80% and Udavalava reservoir is 95%. The head office and all district offices of the Labour Department will be closed on Fridays until further notice as a cost-cutting measure, says the Commissioner General of Labour B.K. Prabhat Chandrakirti. Accordingly, starting from the 3rd of June, the head office and the district offices of the Department of Labour will be closed every Friday of the week, while the offices will remain open only for 4 days a week. The decision has been taken considering the need to reduce state expenditure under the prevailing situation of the availability of limited resources and in line with the circulars issued by the Ministry of Public Administration in relation to limit the calling of state employees for duty using fuel and electricity sparingly and the difficulties faced by public servants with regard to transportation. And that concludes local news.
The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi 60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. The medical insurance plan that begins at the age of 60. Medi 60 from Sri Lanka Insurance. A health insurance plan to honour our most valued elders by the protectors of the nation. We now give our treasured senior citizens access to the very best medical insurance, specially tailored for anyone over 60. What's more, you don't need medical screening to access this policy. And Medi 60 covers a wide range of illnesses. Only from Sri Lanka Insurance. Call 0112 357 357.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Public Utilities Commission has approved the Ceylon Electricity Board's request for power interruptions from the 2nd to the 4th of June. The power cut duration has been reduced to a maximum of 2 hours due to low demand and hydropower generation. A power cut of 2 hours will be imposed on the 2nd and 3rd of June between 3 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. A 1-hour power cut will be imposed on the 4th of June between 6:30 p.m. and 10 p.m. and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight, the GC Ordinary Level Examination 2021 has concluded today. The Examinations Department Chief LMD Dharmasena says the answer script evaluations will be conducted in 2 stages. The first stage of evaluations will commence on the 17th of this month. This will continue until the 26th of this month. Thereafter, the second stage will be conducted from the 30th of June to the 9th of July. The decisions on the evaluation process will be held in 2 stages. This will be done from the 5th of this month to the 8th of this month. Mr. Dharmasena said the much-awaited GCE Ordinary Level exam has been conducted successfully amidst challenging conditions and came to you in Watchlight. And we move on to a bulletin of world news and making headlines tonight. Shanghai lockdown, China eases COVID restrictions after 2 months. Champions League, Macron wants full transparency over chaos at final. And Ukraine war, US to send longer-range rockets in latest aid package. The Chinese city of Shanghai, the country's economic center and a global trade hub, has eased COVID curbs after a 2-month lockdown. At midnight local time, 1600 GMT Tuesday, restrictions relaxed to allow most people to move freely around the city of some 25 million people. But at least 650,000 residents will remain confined to their homes. China's overall policy of zero COVID remains in place and people catching COVID face quarantine or hospital. French President Emmanuel Macron is calling for full transparency over the chaos that marred Saturday's Champions League final between Real Madrid and Liverpool in Paris. The match was delayed as Liverpool fans queued outside the stadium. The French police used tear gas and pepper spray on some supporters. Authorities blamed ticket fraud and the sports minister said Liverpool had let fans out in the wild. But Liverpool fans contested the version of events. The US will send Ukraine more advanced rocket systems to help it defend itself, President Biden has announced. The weapons, long requested by Ukraine, are to help it strike enemy forces more precisely from a longer distance. Until now, the US had refused the request out of fear the weapons could be used against targets in Russia. And back to the headlines of the world news. Shanghai lockdown, China eases COVID restrictions after 2 months. Champions League, Macron wants full transparency over chaos at final. And Ukraine war, the US to send longer-range rockets in latest aid package. That concludes this bulletin of world news, and we move on to development news. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, with financial assistance to the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, NORAD, is providing technical support to develop the fisheries and aquaculture sector in Sri Lanka. The FAO-NORAD global collaboration will work with the Ministry of Fisheries on 3 focus areas in Sri Lanka, develop capacities to implement robust port state measures to combat illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing IUU, increase resilience of the fisheries and aquaculture sector to climate change, and reduce food loss and waste along the fisheries value chain in Sri Lanka. That concludes development news.
Sports News is brought to you by
Sampath Bank. We present your future.
On to cricket news. Top order batter Nuwanitha Fernando and right-arm seamer Matisha Pathirana have broken into Sri Lanka's T20I squad for the forthcoming series against Australia. Both have come into the side having impressed overseas. Nuwanitha 22 in England and Pathirana 19 in the IPL. However, there are no places for all-rounder Dhananjaya De Silva, fast bowler Lahiru Kumara or wicket-keeper batters Dinesh Chandimal and Niroshan Dickwella. Kusal Mendis is likely to take the gloves. Making a return to the T20 squad also are seamer Kasun Rajitha and left-arm wrist spinner Lakshan Sandakan. Left leg spinner Jeffrey Wendase has, like Dickwella, been relegated to the standby players list. Avishka Fernando and Kusal Pereira remain unavailable through injury. Neither have played a competitive match for months. That's sports news. We'll look at business news next.
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The National Chamber conducted the session on bilateral trade between Sri Lanka and Turkey on March 16th at the National Chamber Auditorium with a considerable gathering of the business community. The key speakers were Nazan Deniz, Second Secretary of the Turkey Embassy in Colombo, Aysun Timur, Turkish Commercial Councillor, Embassy of the Republic of Turkey in India, New Delhi, and also Yoshita Jayasuriya, Minister Councillor Commercial, Embassy of Sri Lanka, Ankara, Turkey, connected virtually. That's business news. We look at economic news next.
Business News, sponsored by
Cash through NSP globally and win wonderful gifts locally. Will you be the lucky winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee? 50 gold sovereigns for the top prize winner of the NSP Golden Jubilee. Scooters for the 10 second prize winners. iPhones for the 10 third prize winners. Mountain bikes for the 29 fourth prize winners. From October 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2022. Remit a minimum of $100 or an equivalent amount in any foreign currency 3 times through NSB U Trust.
On to economic news. The Sri Lanka Ports Authority SLPA will continue with their ongoing investment plans to go ahead with the construction of the East Container Terminal ECT at the Colombo port. The total investment would be $500 million and 20% of the work has been completed, disclosed the chairman of the SLPA, Dr. Prasantha Jayamana, yesterday. With the planned investment, the length of the ECT will increase to 1,320 meters and the depth would be increased from 18 meters to 20, and the first phase is scheduled to be completed in July next year. Under the first phase, six ship-to-shore cranes and 20 rail-mounted gantry RMG cranes will be installed at the Eastern Terminal, and this equipment is currently being imported. That's economic news, and on to the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters may occur at some places in the western and Sabaragamu provinces and in the Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matara districts. Several spells of showers may occur in the Anuradhapura district. Strong winds about 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times in the western slopes of the Central Hills, northern, north-central and northwestern provinces and in the Trincomalee and Hamathura districts. This weather report was published this evening at 7:30 p.m. Further details could be obtained by visiting the official website of the department. Meanwhile, the International Weather Forecast website AccuWeather.com reports that today's weather was cloudy with occasional showers. Today's daytime temperature was observed to be around 29 degrees Celsius. There will be light showers in many places in the Colombo district in the night. Tonight's temperature will be around 27 degrees Celsius and there will be scattered showers in selected spots late in the night. The ground temperature would be 25 degrees Celsius at the time of this news broadcast. The air quality index AQI is 21, which shows excellent air condition in Colombo. The air quality is generally acceptable for most individuals. However, sensitive groups may experience minor to moderate symptoms from long-term exposure. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. The President appoints a 3-member commission to probe the recent unrest in Sri Lanka. The GC Order Level Exam 2021 has concluded successfully. The Examinations Department Chief LMD Dharmasena says the answer script evaluations will be conducted in 2 stages. Import restrictions imposed on multiple items relaxed. Import levies on several items increased, prices to go up. The landslide warning issued for 8 districts has been extended. The Labour Department's offices closed on Fridays. Shanghai lockdown, China eases COVID restrictions after 2 months. And Sri Lanka call up Matisha Patirana and Nuanidha Fernando for T20I series against Australia. That concludes tonight's news broadcast.